I'm Roy from Roy's Garage. Today I'm going to be working on a 1996 Toyota Tacoma. I'm going to be showing you how to replace the left front, the driver's side front, inner and outer tie rod. These are the tools I'm going to be using today to do this job. A pry bar, ball joint tie rod separator, rubber mallet, 3-pound sledgehammer, 4-pound sledgehammer, a ball peen hammer, 12-inch crescent wrench, 10-inch crescent wrench, water pump plier, 1/2-inch ratchet, 1/2-inch extension, 18mm wrench, 17mm wrench, long nose plier, side cutters, pneumatic grease gun, and my inner tie rod remover and installer with the adapter. These are the parts I'm going to be using today to do this job. Inner tie rod end, outer tie rod end. Okay, so I have the steering turned all the way to the right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to be loosening up this lock nut. Just loosen it up. So then I'm going to be taking off this clamp. So I'm going to be taking off this cotter pin, removing the nut. Okay, don't take it all the way off. So I'm going to use it's a ball joint tie rod separator. Since I'm going to be replacing the joint, I don't have to worry about breaking the boot. So I'm going to slip this guy in and I'm going to pound it. So I'm going to be unscrewing the outer tie rod. So we're going to have to count how many turns you unscrew it before it comes off. $12. Okay, so I'm going to be removing this nut. Okay, so there's a clamp over here that clamps the inner boot, the bellows boot, to the rack and pinion. So I'm going to have to take this clamp off. Okay, so what I just did was I turned this boot so this clamp, this crimp part faces the bottom. So what I'm going to do is cut this clamp off. Okay, so now I'm going to be removing the boot. So now these two washers that are bent over, one there and one here, what I'm going to do is get my pry bar and I'm going to straighten it out. Put my pry bar there and then pound my pry bar to straighten out the washer. So I'm going to put my tool to remove the tie rod. So now I'm going to be unscrewing the tie rod. So I'm going to be installing the new tie rod. There's this lock washer. I'm going to be putting it on. You see where these tabs are? That tab got to fit right into the grooves. So now I'm going to be tightening up the tie rod. So there's this washer here, and right here what you do is just bend it, and then that what locks the tie rod in. Just use a plier. At least get it started, and the bottom one same thing too. Try to bend it just to get it started. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go underneath the car with one hammer. I'm going to be pounding this washer. I'm going to be folding it over. This one is pretty easy because there's a lot of room under here. The top one is a little hard. You can't really get a hammer in it. So just with a plier, just do the best you can to just fold it over. The main thing is you get at least one of these washers folded over. That's what locks the inner tie rod in. I'm going to be cleaning up the bellows boot. It's really oily. I'm going to be reusing it. If your boot is broken, then you're going to have to replace it. But in this case, it's still good. Just cleaning it up with some brake clean. So I straightened the wheel out. So I'm going to be putting on this bellows boot. Once I put it on, I'm going to be using a tie strap to strap the inner boot to the rack and pinion. Okay, so I'm going to be tie strapping the inner part of the bellows boot. So I'm going to put this clamp on, put the lock nut on. I'm going to be putting on my outer tie rod. I'm going to be turning it 12 turns. So we're going to be putting the tie rod into the spindle. Putting on the nut. So you gotta line up the holes to put the cotter pin in. Okay, so we're tightening down the lock nut. Okay, so we're gonna be greasing up the joint. Okay, so now put your tires on, drop them down, and make sure you take it for an alignment. So that's how you replace an inner and outer tie rod. If you have any questions, comment below. If this is the first time watching my video, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and I see you in the next video. Aloha.